Okay, so picture this. You're in a match, spectating someone, watching a VOD, or scrutinizing a killcam, and out of nowhere, you see a meandering crosshair flick seamlessly onto some dude's chest. What would you be thinking? I mean, I know what you'd be thinking. This kid is cheating.
He's cheating! He's cheating!
He knows. Oh, we got him. We got that son of a bitch.
No, that's Triggerbot. That's Triggerbot.
There it is.
The one.
We got him.
Now, what if I told you that the cheater in question wasn't using aimlock? What if I told you that they were totally above board, had no third-party software installed, and were simply being offered a little bit of in-client assistance? All because they're using a controller.
Controllers. Easy, man. You don't even have to aim.
My guy's literally looking left and right as Cypher's moving left and right, and it's following him.
Now more than ever, with crossplay on the rise and battle royales becoming some of the biggest titles in gaming, the controversial controller-centric mechanic known as aim assist is facing tons of scrutiny. Some feel very strongly that it has no place in a competitive shooter.
So if a mouse and keyboard isn't fair against a controller, or vice versa, because they both have their pros and cons, they shouldn't exist in the same world.
Others, however, genuinely don't see what the big deal is.
The majority of these players that make any success are on keyboard and mouse, so what does it matter? Just let the controller players exist.
So let's air this shit out once and for all. Because the question isn't as simple as, is aim assist cheating? It's, even if it is, can we ever actually get rid of it? All right, fellow cracked fiends. Crackheads. Nope. Man, there is just no way to endearingly refer to our fans that does not carry some real negative energy. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Okay, so before we flick straight on to the spicy controversial stuff, we should take a second to answer the very reasonable question that I'm sure all of the League players out there have, which is, what in the flying f*** is aim assist? It's quite simple, actually. Aim assist is a decades-old mechanic that makes it so that once your crosshair has come within a certain proximity of an enemy target, it automatically tracks said target.
Huh? Oh, don't worry. I'm gonna correct him in a minute.
Now, before y'all start cracking quips about aim hacks and whatnot, we should also take a second to answer yet another very reasonable question, which is, how did aim assist come to exist in the first place? And look, I know what you're thinking. Like all of gaming's infernal annoyances, aim assist must have been pioneered on the cesspool that is console, right? Well, as it turns out, yes? I mean, kind of. You see, technically, you can find early traces of aim assist in the original Doom, which, for all you Zoomers out there, is basically the rock on which the church of first-person shooters was built. Since you could only aim sideways, your reticle would actually snap to enemies below ledges. But it wasn't until the advent of the Nintendo 64 and the release of such foundational titles as GoldenEye, Duke Nukem 0 Hour, and Perfect Dark that aim assist was thrust into the hands of every wide-eyed, cross-legged, basement-dwelling runt in the known universe. And yes, it was beyond broken, but that was okay. Because aside from some casual split-screen multiplayer, it was always being used against NPCs.
Headshot. Take that.
See, why can't COD be that easy at aiming?
The issue, of course, is that eventually humans entered the mix, like in Halo. Now, as it turns out, the way that aim assist functions in Master Chief's floaty funhouse of stick-steered destruction is actually kind of complicated. And admittedly, I have no idea how it works, mostly because I don't care. It just so happens that Colton is a seasoned former Halo player, competitor, person, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna hop on Twitter real quick while he explains to you how this mechanic that we in Counter-Strike refer to as cheating became referred to in console communities as competing.
Someone needs to teach that kid some respect. Aim assist isn't just the game automatically moving your reticle onto the enemy's head. There's a lot more subtlety here. And who better to break it all down than the resident Halo nerd? In Halo CE, and across most controller FPS games, there are two systems at work: bullet magnetism and aim assist. Bullet magnetism is the game shifting the projectile or hit scan impact point from the center of your crosshair closer to an enemy, while aim assist is the slowing of the crosshair movement as it passes over an enemy player. Across different FPS games, there's a lot of nuance in how these two systems are implemented, especially from the pioneers over at Bungie. Aim assist and bullet magnetism are adjusted on each weapon individually, from the range that it kicks in to whether it happens at all, like the sniper rifle, which has no aim assist when descoped, but has an extremely long aim assist range when scoped. These systems, and the fact that at the end of the day you still have to consistently get your reticle to the enemy player, something Dimitri struggles with daily in CS, are a part of the beautifully high skill ceiling in Halo CE. Even among the best players in the world, there was an obvious skill gap when it came to aiming prowess. So just because the game is helping you, doesn't mean your own hand-eye and game sense wasn't a huge factor. Controller phenoms like Clockwork and the Ogre Twins to snipe down an I Got Your Pistola have created some of the hypest moments that the burgeoning NA esports scene has ever seen. So maybe check yourself a bit before you go devaluing console pros' undeniable talent. There's a reason these guys are winning majors, and you're talking about it in front of a camera. Dimitri.
Is he done? He is? Oh, thank God. Okay. Now, it goes without saying that back in the day when consoles were on the come up, and actually cool, the introduction of aim assist made a ton of sense. Anyone who grew up in the 90s can attest to this. Have you ever tried aiming with an N64 controller? It feels like you're playing video games with a f***ing bop it.
High score 13-7. Bop it. Pull it.
No! Even as dual analog sticks became the norm, it remained very obvious that maintaining precise pinpoint accuracy with a controller just wasn't ideal. Aiming solely using one's thumbs could be clunky and chaotic, so an in-client assist was both an elegant and intuitive solution.
Oh man, put aim assist off.
Okay, look, you all knew this was coming, so let's just get it out of the way. Is the mouse a definitively better input device when it comes to any video game that involves raw, unassisted aiming? Yes, it is. Cry all you want. It's a fact. You don't even have to take my word for it. Just consult a study. Or, wink wink, ask our resident grip guru, Garrick Foreman, who you may remember from our mouse grip episode, and is currently completing his PhD in ergonomics and neuromechanics at Brock University.
When you're using a mouse, you have three major joints, so your shoulder, elbow, and wrist, that can all make adjustments to perfect your aim. Just all together in the form, you have so many muscles and joints to be able to get precise aim. You have a ton of muscles that are doing very specific, fine functions, very fine movements, and they can kind of play off each other and cycle off if they start to get tired, whereas you don't have that in the hand, especially in the thumb. You don't have, the thumb basically is like the opposite to what I said. It basically has one muscle that performs each movement. So if you're playing for hours just using your thumb and that muscle starts to get tired, you're going to be played worse.
According to Garrick, there's just this plainly scientific sense in which aiming solely using one's thumbs will just never be as easy or efficient as using the sort of combo that is the shoulder, elbow, wrist trifecta.
But in that sense, yes, I think it's much easier to aim with mouse keyboard than it is with a controller, just because of how much more functional tissue you have using the mouse. You have just so much muscle mass that can be adding to that. Because you have three joints too, it also allows you to correct for errors at any one of those joints. So if you are making any kind of error at your shoulder joint, you can correct with it at your elbow a little bit. You can definitely correct for it at your wrist. So that's really the benefit of using the wrist, and why it's such an important part of the body is it's the end effector of anything you're doing. So the wrist, it basically corrects for any kind of errors that are introduced to the function higher up in the limb.
In a sense, then, you can think of aim assist as compensating for the absence of the wrist, as recreating those sort of quick, snappy correctives that the thumb, by its very nature, struggles to produce.
So if an enemy is right there, when I flick with my arm, I obviously want to be as close as I can to that, but that's where the arm and wrist hybrid comes from, right? Is you have a range of control. And so even if he's here and I flick to there with my arm, see how fast my correction was? So he's here, I flick with my arm, I'm still on the spot I want to aim because that's my range of control.
Because of this, aim assist was, and always will be an indispensable learning tool for console-adoring casuals. And to be clear, I don't mean casuals in the derogatory sense. I mean actual controller-wielding children who know nothing about esports. Like Colton.
Flom says the dude's name once, and he thinks he's something.
I think that aim assist is really, really great for the average player, and I think that's probably why it was introduced, because if you come in from, like, especially people trying to get into games, if you come into a game and you suck at aiming, you are not going to want to play that game anymore. So I think that a lot of the reason like the aim assist is so important is because it creates such a great playing experience for so many people. And I definitely, when you're looking at the upper echelons of pro play, that's where you got to start to think, is it necessary? And I think that if you really want to get into it, I would say probably take it off. You know, if you are as good, if you're the best of the best, you probably don't need it. And if you are best of the best, let's see how good you are without it.
That said, eventually, aim assist also became a bit of a crutch, even for competitors.
People told me to take off aim assist, and I know so many people have done this no aim assist stuff, but I think I haven't done it per se. I'm about to throw up because that was awful. This is bullshit, dude.
The thing is, for a long time, the ubiquitousness of aim assist from an esports perspective wasn't that big of a deal. Since console and PC esports were kept separate and everyone in the former was using a controller, there were no unfair advantages per se, since everyone had access to said assist. And then, in the late 2010s, crossplay came along. Before long, you had heavily populated battle royale extravaganzas, such as Fortnite, Warzone, and Apex Legends, in which keybs and controllers were facing off against one another in not only casual settings, but competitive ones. And it was in that latter context, kids, where things started to get a little bit heated.
I've watched you try to L2 spam and it doesn't work, and then you start L spamming and just literally aiming and you're zooming in on it. I don't know, you're high,
Yo, the first game, you're telling me that the new one is broken. Now you're telling me that you're watching me and it doesn't work. You gotta pick one, homie. You can't just say it works and it doesn't work. My aim, I'm out people all day, boy. I've been just destroying people with L2.
You see, on the one hand, you can't take away console players' aim assist, since, well, for starters, it's a part of their game. They learned to play with it. What's more, in the vast majority of circumstances, they need it in order to stand a chance against mouse aimers. The issue is that as soon as a PC player dies to what is essentially a glorified aimbot, they're gonna feel cheated.
What? 100 scope. Dude, controller, man, like, it's just hacking, bro. Like, it's actually just hacking.
Sick, dude. Court.
Bro, it's like, when you're up against the pressure of somebody who can consistently 5-shot that fucking hard, aiming doesn't always come that super great.
Red flag.
I'm done with it. It's donezoed. This game sucks, huge wiener. I'm super fucking over it.
The question, of course, is in a competitive context where crossplay is a thing, is using aim assist cheating? Yes? I mean, I'll put it this way. It's a shitload closer to cheating than it is to not cheating.
The whole point of competition is like fair play. You know, competitive integrity, right? So if a mouse and keyboard isn't fair against a controller, or vice versa, because they both have their pros and cons, they shouldn't exist in the same world. It's really that simple. The fact that people are arguing against any of that is crazy to me.
Now, is it true that there are certain controller players who are so nutty that they actually don't need aim assist? Yes. My boy Priest, for instance, stepped onto the stage of the Raleigh Major back in August of 2019, played in the Creator Cup, and squared up against Shroud on LAN with the controller. And no, he wasn't using aim assist.
This is for all the console players at home right now. You can tell all your PC friends to shut their mouth. You can possibly win out this gunfight. It's going to be a quick rotation. He had the skeleton key, pressuring through, doesn't have time, and no!
So close, he had the angle and everything.
The issue is that such phenoms are so few and far between that you could never in good conscience balance an entire esport around them. In Call of Duty, for instance, aim assist is pretty much intrinsically linked to the mechanics of the franchise. Even the game's most cracked killers rely on it to land nutty shots.
In the sky, straight ahead. I'm about to beam him real quick. He's right here. Live mark.
Mark the target.
Broke him. He's gone forever.
So if aim assist is indeed paramount to cheating vis-a-vis crossplay, and you can't get rid of it whole hog since the casuals need it, what's the solution? Well, it's actually very simple. Take it out of competitive.
I've always been like this, and I've always said there shouldn't be aim assist or controllers or whatever in tournaments. Like, you shouldn't mix it. Either you go only controller or you go only PC.
This isn't some hot, spicy, revolutionary take, but apparently it begs repeating. If controllers are ever up against keys and any amount of money is on the line, aim assist should categorically be taken out of the equation.
If a Joe Nobody me comes into play against mouse aimers and I have my steroid aim assist on and I can compete, that should never happen. So there's got to be some way to adjust the degree based on, you know, someone's level of skill and who on earth knows how to do that.
Look, the reality is that if you're gonna compete in a shooter at a high level, you gotta learn how to use a mouse and keyboard. No matter how you slice it, aim-centric esports are just better with a clicker and a clack pad. There's a reason that they scrapped Siege's Xbox Pro League back in 2017. It just isn't fun watching people click heads with inferior hardware. That said, it is never too late to level up. Look at Space Station Gaming's very own Bosco. He won the first 6 Invitational on Xbox, took up mouse and keyboard after his division of Pro League got cancelled, and 3 years later became the first Siege competitor in history to win an Invitational on both PC and console. So, as condescending as this may sound, I say it in earnest. Console players, switch to PC as soon as you can and start practicing. Most of you are young enough that you'll be nutty before you know it. And mouse users, stop demonizing your stick-thumbing brethren. Are there certain annoyances surrounding aim assist? You bet your ass there are. But that isn't controller players' fault. It also doesn't change the fact that, maligned as it is, this mechanic played a vital role in turning shooters into the wildly popular pastime they are today. Like it or not, esports owes a great deal to aim assist. So instead of berating its constituents, help them evolve. Guide them, shepherd them, show them some love. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to grow competitive gaming for the better, not gatekeep it. You know the best way to BM in Counter-Strike? This comes courtesy of, shout out to Alex Debits over at Liquid. This is the former SCORE employee. This is the Alex Debits special. After you clutch up for the boys in CS, get that last kill, defuse the bomb, just like waggle your mouse and then just hardcore, like just hard lock, take your hand off the mouse. And then just freeze your POV and then just alt chat, 1 sec, my batteries and my controller just died. It's amazing. I know, right? It's good. Good.